making great ads isn't luck. You can manufacture great results. The best advertisers have been doing this one method for over 100 years. Claude Hopkins wrote a book called Scientific Advertising in 1923. You can steal this framework like me. The last few episodes, last 4 episodes, we just kind of finished a full series on how to think, create, and analyze an ad. But there was still kind of like a missing piece. We kind of touched about it at the end. You know, we talked a little bit about actual like ad data, like what is a hook rate, what is a hold rate, etc. But there was still kind of like one small missing piece, and that is how to tie the different stages together. And that's where our friend, my hero, Claude Hopkins comes in. So let's think about the 4 stages that we talked about in the last 4 episodes. 1, ideation. 2, production. 3, launch the ads. 4, analyze. And most people will analyze the ads and just say the ad didn't work or the ad worked. Others will just kind of guess what to create and are usually very disappointed with the results. Few will use the analyzation stage to help them with the ideation phase. Both Claude Hopkins and myself have a different way to create ads that sell. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this episode of In the Cutting Room. This is a new podcast that I am putting out into the world because I felt like there wasn't anything out there actually talking about creative strategy, talking about ads. I think a lot of times when we hear people talking about ads, they're media buyers. I love my media buyers out there, but they're not in the weeds editing ads. In the Cutting Room. Cutting Room is an actual ode to how filmmakers created films. They used to literally have strips of film, cut it up, paste them together, and that's how you got a film. But it was what was left on the floor of the cutting room. Those were the creative decision makings that were made. And what we want to do is learn about how do people in advertisement make decisions, and how can you become a better creative decision maker so that you can create masterpieces, which is ads that sell. So that's what we're talking about. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about how does the data actually go back to ideation and production and all that stuff. Because I think that's like a big thing that ends up getting missed. And I mentioned this in the last episode, but let's get a little refresher here. The scientific method. What is the scientific method? Well, in grade school, they teach you the scientific method. I think I learned this in like 4th or 5th grade. It was define a question, gather information, form a hypothesis, test a hypothesis by performing an experiment and collecting the data, analyze that data, interpret the data to draw conclusions, publish your results, and then kind of retest. Back in 5th grade, I'm not going to lie, I'm about to toot my horn here. Back in 5th grade, I actually won my science fair with this method. All right. The question was, will the height of the rockets be affected by the weight of the rocket? I had my question. My hypothesis was to the answer of that question was yes, but I needed to test it. So my dad and I, we rigged up a few rockets. We shot them in the air, and we measured the height of them by using the Pythagorean theorem. And then we got the heights of the rocket. And yes, in fact, the weight did affect the height. And if I had more time, I might have retested or asked another question to give myself another test. One of those questions could be like, does the thrust power of the rocket affect the height of the rocket? And then another test would kick off. That is essentially how the scientific method works. Okay. And shout out to my dad for helping me out. Also, I texted him about this recently, and I was like, man, that was so much fun. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how the scientific method is similar to advertising. And he was like, I remember that it was foggy, and then the first rockets like got lost in the fog. So then we had to like make the engine smaller and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Like we also like lost a bunch of them. And then he's like, I still have all of my gear in the workshop. So it's like my dad's holding it down 20 years later. We could still run this test back. So let us know if you want us to run the test back. But let's get back to advertising real quick. The same is true for advertising. Okay, let's get into this. You define your angle, right? So that's what we talked about in the ideation. You define your angle, you write your ad and create that ad. You test that ad, put it into Facebook. You collect the data, you analyze that data and learn what worked or did not work, and then you retest. All right, here's where we're going to get into the hot takes now. Maybe it's not hot takes. I don't know. But some of the stuff I see on Twitter, I'm like, what are people saying here? Like, some people are saying some crazy things. But I'm here to set the record straight. All right. Data is not new. Let me say that one more time. Data is not new. Let's go back to the 1920s with our boy, Claude Hopkins. All right. They based winning ads on the coupons that were being sent back to the manufacturer from the ad. The ad that got more results was the winner. Simple. More results equals winner. Do more like the winner. If you read this book, like just read scientific advertising. Like I feel like sometimes when I talk about ad creative data, people are trying to like blow, like, create a smoke and mirrors. Like they're trying to be like, no, Matthew, like this is wrong. Like you don't know all this. It's like, what? Like we've been doing this for like 100 years. Okay. Data is not new. Many people are talking about the targeting in the ads, or even just like, should it be CBO, ABO, all these different like things when it comes to like media buying. Okay. But what needs to happen is we actually need to be having a conversation about how to use data to inform creative decisions. I am not saying that the ad account setup is not important. I'm not saying that. In fact, it's actually important because if you don't have a good setup, you can't get the right data. So then, get the data back so that you can make creative decisions. But the issue is that people are so focused on account setup that they don't even talk about or even getting the perfect data. Oh, you can't get the most perfect data, yada, yada, yada. We miss out on the actual point of it. Why do we even need data? Look, if your hook rate is bad, you can fix the hook, and then you might have a winning ad. But what ends up happening is that the ad doesn't work and people just like throw it away completely. They're like, whatever. When it comes to creative strategy, there is a lot of people out there that are saying, do not test a bunch of headlines. Claude Hopkins in 1923, early 1900s, not even in 1923. Actually, funny story about that book is that book was so dang good, his agency didn't let him publish it for many years. They kept it in a safe because it was so good. They didn't want to give up their secrets. Claude Hopkins would have the same body ad and have 8 different headlines. Winner takes all. Hopkins didn't just throw out a full ad and it's like, oh, it didn't work. Oh, darn. He constantly was tinkering and trying to find winners and then beat those winners. So he would find a winning ad and then he's like, great, I'm going to beat that winning ad now. That's the new standard. I'm going to keep beating that. I'm going to try and get that. He was the first one ever in advertising to take an analytical approach to advertising. And for some weird reason, I have no idea like what happened, but I feel like we lost the art of analytical advertising, scientific advertising with the rise of Facebook. But here's the thing. The arbitrage is over, my friends. The arbitrage is over. There was a period of time that it was about targeting and account management. But guess what? Now you have to be good at advertising and creative, not targeting and account management. Not saying those things don't matter. I'm not saying that. So do not come at me. They do matter 100%. But you need to have good ads. And you ain't going to have good ads if you aren't using the feedback from the data to help you with your creative decisions. Now, there are going to be people who will want to do small little changes and some people want to do big changes. I don't care. The point is that you need to use the data to give you feedback on what's working. The feedback loop cannot be linear, right? So you can't just be like, step 1, ideate. Step 2, produce. Step 3, launch. Step 4, collect data. And that's it. It's not in a line. It's a circle. Everything builds on each other. I have seen firsthand millions of dollars come from iterations and message testing. Oh my gosh. If I could show you, I have seen it. I have seen it myself. And here's the thing. The best advertisers of the 20th century all follow Claude Hopkins. Okay. This is how people have been doing it for hundreds of years. Do not let people out there try to make it so confusing that like, oh, the data's not perfect, or oh, attribution this, attribution that. Oh, no. No, you can do this. Not all the data is perfect, but you can get enough signal to help you find winning ads, okay? Here's the reality of this method. This scientific method allows you to find winning ads using data. Let me caveat this though, because I talk about certainty and people are like, oh, you're certain? You can guarantee? I can guarantee over a period of time that we'll finally get it. Because guess what? This does not mean, if you use this method, it does not mean that you will get it right every time, right away. But it is over time. Using data, you can iterate your way to winning ads. Claude Hopkins, one of the greatest advertisers of all time, did not get every headline to be a winner. In fact, he knew that most of his stuff would not work. But if he could use data to inform his decisions, he would get closer to the winning ads. The data allows you to know what to say and what not to say. The market decides for you. You just need to take that data feedback and let that inform your ideation process. Have a hypothesis, create, test that ad, analyze the data, go back, and iterate. Here's the thing. What I am saying and talking about is the work no one is willing to do, okay? Few advertisers will actually spend the time picking apart their current ads to improve the future ads. Let me say that again. Few advertisers will spend the time picking apart their current ads to improve the future ads. So what I mean by that is that you literally need to take the time, a few hours a week, and literally wash your old ads with data, okay? This effort is the difference of getting results. Don't just say, oh, the hook didn't work because it was 13% hook rate. Ask yourself, what is happening in the ad, in that hook, that makes 87% of people swipe away? Ooh. You might have multiple answers to that question. But that answer to that question is your next test. Over the course of a few months, if you run this system, you will find winners. If you're just throwing anything, if you're just like, I'm just going to ideate, just going to throw whatever happens out there, and you're just like, oh, it didn't work or it worked, and that's it. And you're like, oh, it didn't work? Okay, next thing. It's like, whoa. Ask yourself, why did it not work? And if you ask yourself why it didn't work, then you probably would say, oh, I would probably change this and this and this. Go change it and go run it. Look, I'm not saying anything new here, okay? Like people, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel on how to do advertising. Like there are obviously some nuances to the modern world and whatnot. But at the end of the day, Hopkins, Ogilvy, Good Studios, has run this method, okay? And look, Ogilvy said this about Hopkins, okay? Ogilvy said, and I think a lot of people would look at David Ogilvy and say he's amazing. He's one of the best advertisers of all time. David Ogilvy is great as an advertiser because of Hopkins. And I would say that I believe I am becoming a great advertiser because of Hopkins, Ogilvy, and John Caples and a few other people. Look, they've already created everything that you need to do. How to test, how to think about advertising. You just need to fulfill it in the modern day. But like framework wise, this is it right here. Why are we like fighting something that has like 100-year history to it? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, why are people even just like saying like, oh, like you can't creative test? You don't know. The CPMs are not the same through and through. It's like, oh my gosh, why are you saying things that make things so much more complicated than they need to be? Look, this method has been run for 100 years. Okay. At the end of the day, scientists are curious. They have questions about the world and they use experiments to help them find answers to those questions. Advertisers have to be the same. Advertisers must be curious about their ads and the impact that they have on the consumer. And they use experiments to help them find the answers to what can they say and what can they show to get a consumer to buy. That's it. Take the guessing work out of advertising, okay? And find the positioning of your brand in the marketing, okay? Look, you can still dominate and scale Facebook and digital ads today. Like, you're not too late to do any of that stuff. The key is you just need to use these platforms and the data to your advantage. And very few people are doing that. Like, there's a lot of people talking about like attribution and data, quote unquote data, but like those are all great conversations. I'm not saying to not have those conversations. My point is that very few people are having conversations about how does data impact creative decision making. If Claude Hopkins was here today, he would be running circles over everybody because he would have so much more pinpoint accurate data to look at. He would be like, what are we complaining about? This is way better than what I had back in the day. You know, so like he would be like picking apart headlines, you know, all this different stuff. He would go crazy. He would love it. We have this accuracy of data that can really help us. Let's not try to like overcomplicate it. Simplify your data collection so that it can help you spend more time on ideating. Use it to your advantage. Don't just be like, oh, I think the issue when people are trying to define creative strategy and define creative testing is like, you have some people who say, oh, I creative test. But what they're really saying is, I just made 100 random ads with no hypothesis and I just let it rip. Okay, some of those work. You basically are playing the lottery. Good luck, right? Because even if you got the ones that work, you didn't have a hypothesis. So you don't even know why it worked. So getting good data didn't even really help you, right? But good creative strategy and good creative testing is, hey, I'm going to make this ad because I want to see if I say this and show this, I will get a good result. And then it works or it doesn't work. And then you're like, dang, I thought it was going to work. Let me think if I could do this, this, and this to change it. Then let me see if it works. And if it doesn't work, oh, maybe I shouldn't be trying this and maybe I should move on to another angle, right? But do you see how fast you can get to clarity when you actually have an hypothesis, when you actually have an idea, right, of what you're trying to do? You need to have intention behind what you're creating to then create it. This is what's missing. And this is why it's so important for us to have these conversations. This is why it's so important for us to have a show like this in the cutting room, because this is the stuff that's not being talked about enough. And that's what we're here for. So I am excited to have finished out this kind of 4 or 5 part series about creative strategy, our process, how to do it. Now, we'll be talking about a lot of other things moving forward. We might be breaking down ads. We might be doing a lot of other formats of this show. I have no idea what's going on. Personally, I mean, if you're watching this video, I mean, I'm just randomly in my studio here. I don't got a fancy back setup or anything like that. Maybe I will over time, but I'm just here, just chatting away, just doing my thing. This is what I love to do. This is what I love to talk about. If you have things you want me to talk about, let me know. Did you like this series? Like, I want to know. I'm probably going to give this like, 10, 15 episodes, see how it goes. And, if I like it, if I'm vibing, I'll just keep going. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I know the last few episodes I was like hitting like 30 or 40 minutes. This is a 20-minute episode ish. Sometimes you got to be short and sweet. Here's the thing. I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel. We don't. Just learn from the people that came before us. Like advertising has been around for like ever. There's really like, we don't need to like overcomplicate things. And if people are overcomplicating things, it's because they've never read these books. All right. Read these books. If you want to know more books, you're like, Matt, what other books should I say or read? Let me know. I'll tell you. But you could start with scientific advertising. My Life in Advertising as well with Claude Hopkins is good. Ogilvy on Marketing is very good. Confessions of an Advertising Man is also good by Ogilvy. Between those 4 books, you're set up for like a good start. But then come back to me. I got some oldies but goodies. That's it, y'all. Don't overcomplicate this, and don't listen to the craziness that's out there. Use simple data to help you with simple decision making, and you'll be great. That's it. I love y'all. Thanks for watching In the Cutting Room. If you're vibing with the show, leave a review. Follow me at Matthew Gutozzi. Do whatever. I don't know. That's it. Bye-bye. Peace.